Today on What's Popping, the White House has said that a transgender model is going to be banned from future events at the White House due to photographs and videos that show her topless on the South Lawn during an LGBTQ Pride Month celebration that took place a couple of days ago. So as you know, the month of June is like Pride Month, so the whole month is supposed to be LGBT, and it can be a bit much, to be honest. It's like, can you think of any other festivity for which an entire month is dedicated to the thing? You know what I mean? Because think of Christmas or even Easter. Easter, maybe it's just a couple of days, and then we're done with it. Christmas, okay, but this Pride Month stuff, every day for a whole month is just rainbows all over the place, which I think can be to some people can be off-putting. I mean, there's only so much of that stuff you can shove down people's throats before they say, okay, you know what, enough. I feel like I'm gagging. Anyway, so at the recent Pride event, there was a Pride event that was hosted by President Biden at the White House. And a transgender model who was in attendance decided to flaunt his breasts. Now, obviously, a transgender person or a transgender woman, a person who formerly would have identified as male and has the physique and the body of a male, in this case, this particular male trans person, it's just confusing, male, female, whatever. But essentially, this person now presents as a woman, okay? And had surgery done and breast implants and all that stuff. So, whereas he still has the frame of a man, at least he's got boobs, right? So he chose to flaunt them at the Pride event that was hosted by Joe Biden at the White House. Now, Joe Biden is as woke and progressive and super pro-LGBT as they go, but I think even for him and for his current administration, going topless at the White House, it was a bit too much. And isn't it ironic, because Joe Biden likes to lead with the slogan, restoring honor and dignity to the White House, as a way of sort of bashing Trump or positioning himself against Trump, whereas Trump was the more chaotic sort of bull in the China show. Joe Biden presented himself, or at least his team tries to present himself as being the more the person whose notion of decorum I think is more calm and respectable and all that kind of stuff. Perhaps it is not actually like that, but it's what they like to say is what their message is. So to have a topless trans person flaunt their boobs at the Pride event would just seem to run counter to that messaging, to say the least. Anyway, so the White House has come out and condemned this transgender activist by the name of Rose Montoya, and has announced that Rose Montoya will be banned from future events due to these photographs and videos that show her topless on the South Lawn during the LGBTQ Pride Month celebration that took place at the White House. So Montoya shared this video from the event on Instagram, and it features clips of her standing in front of the White House topless and covering her nipples with her hands. And of course, the images went viral, and it caused an outrage where even people that might be pro-LGBT are like, okay, but you might have gone a bit too far. And I wonder whether the people who are more explicitly pro-LGBT would concede that there is a genuine concern that among the ranks of the LGBT community are people that are like total sociopaths and narcissists. Every community has its sociopaths and narcissists, but at least every other community endeavors to keep those narcissists and sociopaths in check, right? They'll be called out, or they'll be refused from attending events, or they'll be like condemned and things like that. But I feel like with the LGBT community, there's not really been much of that, as evidenced by what is on display currently at the Pride marches as they take place, where men that are literally naked, wearing thongs, are gyrating and thrusting and grinding and twerking in full view of children, and it just, that kind of a spectacle. I would think, and I have seen many gay men say, "Oh man, I'm gay and I've got my partner, and we're not down with all that madness." And there seems to be a push for some of the more extreme narcissists among them to keep pushing the envelope, what was that recently? There was a performance by a certain musician, a trans musician, and then at the end of his performance, he stood up on top of the piano, and then he just stripped all his clothes off, so to display his dangling bits, his male genitalia that he still has, and apparently this was in live television. The producers of the program were not aware that this was part of the act, and so it took them by surprise. So there was no time to censor or cut to commercial. It just the whole world just saw this man's dangling bits. And in his mind, I think he thinks, I'm making a statement, I'm fighting discrimination. But really all you're doing is engendering more animosity among the population, because it is clearly going past the point of we just want to be free, to be loved, and to be left alone. It's more now a case of I want to destroy the world, or I'm going to drag everyone in the world down with me into my abyss of madness. And I think people are starting to put their foot down and say, you know what, no, this is not okay. No, we don't want to have your pornographic parades on our streets where people are just gyrating and doing all this kind of stuff. And then we don't want drag queens reading stories to our children. We don't want children attending the drag queen performances where they're watching these half-naked men do dances, or in some cases to have the children perform those dances for the viewing pleasure of the grown men in attendance. It all is just getting very crazy, and people are starting to call it out, and rightly so. And so for me, I think this incident with Rose Montoya marks an interesting start to a very interesting new chapter, I think, where people are going to be more sensitive to the excesses of this community. And seeing as the White House, Oval institutions were quick to denounce this behavior, I don't know, might this embolden other more liberal-minded people to say, okay, I am liberal and I support the cause, but within limits? Because I think if there are no limits placed and if there aren't enough checks, the crazies are going to run the asylum. And Rose Montoya is just one of many such narcissists who are only just too happy to make it all about themselves, and who just want to shove this obscenity in everyone's faces, while at the same time hiding behind the shield of, I'm a minority, I'm oppressed, I'm being discriminated against, which is, of course, very disingenuous. But we'll see what happens next. What I didn't see, though, is the left-wing people, progressives, liberal people, calling Joe Biden and the White House transphobic. Because had it been Donald Trump, oh my gosh, just think about this for 2 seconds. Can you imagine if it was Donald Trump who was still president, and then someone like this flashed his boobs there on the White House lawn, and then Trump issued a statement, or his White House issued a statement saying the person would now be banned from attending events at the White House? My goodness, wall-to-wall hysterical coverage by the mainstream media. MSNBC, New York Times, BBC, Guardian, they would have just lambasted Trump, called him a racist. Not only is there a sexist, racist, now he's a homophobe and transphobe and all those ists and phobes that they like to throw at people who just have a semblance of common sense. So it's quite deeply ironic that Joe Biden was not met with the same kind of hostile criticism, which just goes to show you that all of this outrage is performative. Politics is tribal now, and the other side are just going to be hypocrites about this sort of thing. But it is at least quite refreshing to see them call out one of their own, I would say. In this case, Rose Montoya. Madness.